In Season 15, the exotic gloves Shards of Galanor were hit with a substantial change that capped their super energy returned by their perk Sharp Edges to a max of 50%. While this change was likely justified, I felt that it took away from the power fantasy of throwing every knife in existence. So today, I'm showing you a build that'll combine the spirit of Shards of Galanor with the utility of Ophidia's Faith and its perk, Scissor Fingers, to result in way more than just 1,000 cuts. Let's get into it. As a quick heads up, this will be a PvE only build due to the Elemental Well mods not working in the Crucible. As mentioned, Ophidia's Faith will be our exotic, as it's really what makes this build into a storm of unending knives for your enemies. Its perk, Scissor Fingers, states, grants 2 knives per charge. Now, I'll be the first to admit this isn't the most clear explanation, but the important thing to note here is the exotic will provide 2 charges of your middle tree Phantom Knives melee each time the first one becomes fully charged. This is unique, seeing as similar perks on other exotics usually will only provide an extra charge slot. When Scissor Fingers is combined with the abilities of the Middle Tree Gunslinger, you get knives that feed into more knife energy being generated via the perk Playing with Fire, or more dodgeability energy being generated while a target burns from the knives. For consistency, run Gambler's Dodge to get both melees back when using the knives against higher health targets. Additionally, you can use the Incendiary Grenade to create burns that will also feed into those recharges. With that foundational ability loop in place, melee charges will be consistently available to you. So now, we can build into the super regeneration to mimic Shards of Galanor with our mods. The most important mod is the Void Charged with Light mod Energy Converter, as it'll act as our mini Shards of Galanor. This mod will convert your stacks of Charged with Light into super energy when you throw a grenade. Notably, Energy Converter will no longer convert your stacks once your super is 50% charged. To get the most out of Energy Converter, you need to have as many stacks of Charged with Light as possible, with 5 being the max. To gain our charges, we'll be utilizing mods Melee Wellmaker, which will create an Elemental Well on charged melee kills, and Elemental Charge, which will give us stacks of Charged with Light when picking up Elemental Wells. With our base build having us use plenty of charged melees, this combo of mods gives several synergies. Since Melee Wellmaker will create solar wells based off of our solar melee, picking up the well will grant recharge to all of our abilities instead of just the lowest charged one, which is what happens when picking up a well that does not match your subclass energy type. Additionally, picking up a well that matches our energy type will grant 2 stacks of Charged with Light rather than 1. Seeing as the default cap on stacks of Charged with Light is 2, we'll add the Supercharged mod to allow for 2 additional stacks, thus gaining us more super energy when Energy Converter is activated. And to top it off, we'll use the Font of Wisdom mod to increase our super regen speed after picking up our matching elemental well. And so I'm here on my hunter, and I wanted to kind of talk about how I built out my stats and my mods to kind of give you a better picture of how I envisioned the build to go. So first off, we have a lot of strength. The more strength you have, the better your melees are going to come back, which the whole build revolves around your melees. So having that strength up just get you more melees. Intellect is actually kind of a funny one because with Font of Wisdom, it's increasing your intellect to be at max for the 30 seconds that it's active. So having at max on intellect would give you no benefit when using Font of Wisdom. So really, you just want to have a low intellect stat just so that whenever you are getting the benefit, it's actually a benefit. I keep mine at 30 to 40. 30 is the biggest buff difference because here it's at 5 minutes at tier 3, but tier 2 it's dreadful. I don't even remember what it is. It's awful. It's more than the 15 seconds between between tier 3 and tier 4, as you can see here. Grenade is really up to your preference, just because I tried it out using the grenade at high discipline and at low discipline, and it didn't really change the game up that much for me. I've tried to get multiple stacks of the charge with light so that I can try to activate the energy converter mod more than once, but by the time that Font of Wisdom is getting me to 50%, I can't get a grenade charge back before Font of Wisdom gets me to 50%. So it's really not all that important. Recovery, you want to have high recovery. It's game changing. Spec as high as you can. Resilience doesn't affect us here. Mobility gets us a quicker dodge. Higher mobility you can have, probably the better, except this build really does build back your dodge quickly, so it's not the most important thing either, but it's always nice just to have that at base. A notable change is you could switch out Font of Wisdom for Well of Potency. Now, I like the idea of Font of Wisdom a little better, just having that regen at max for a longer time, but it'll kind of be a choice for you depending on whether you like Font of Wisdom, which will be around after Season 15, or just for Season 15 Well of Potency, which will give you regen every time you pick up a well. And that regen is roughly about the same as an Orb of Light, Orb of Power rather. You could also increase your intellect and run Well of Potency and get the dual benefits from that. It's just how much do you think you're going to be making wells, and how much do you want to spec into intellect. So you just kind of have to make your choices. I personally like to run things that are going to last, unless they're just silly powerful, and I don't think Well of Potency is just unbelievably powerful, so I'm going to run Font of Wisdom. One additional thing to note here is that after Season 15, the hands-on mod will be back to costing 3 energy for arc affinity. So I like to think about the future whenever I'm doing these builds, so I'm having this arc so that I can spec into a hands-on, and then eventually whenever I get this armor fully masterworked, I can also put in either a discipline or strength mod or whatever I need, honestly. But seeing as I have a 4 here, I could run the 2 3s and still have the benefit of having 2 hands-on mods without worrying about the cost. So here on my gloves, I have them charged as solar, solely because impact induction, causing damage with melee attacks, reduces my grenade cooldown, so that'll just give me a grenade cooldown more often since we're throwing a million knives. I use the elemental charge on the glove specifically because we always get our champion mods in the arm slot, and I want to make sure I have room to spec those as far as charges go. Impact induction isn't the most important thing ever, so if it was needed, I could flip out one of these, not for the 6s, obviously, but I could flip it out for one of these other champion mods and be right as rain. We get a lot of just general ability energy off of the wells, so it's not the biggest deal if we're not running impact induction. On my Ophidius Baith, I have the supercharged mod because it costs the most, and typically I don't find the chest piece mods to be all that useful to me. Boots, I have the melee wellmaker because boot mods aren't the most important, at least not more important than the glove mods, just because champions are a nuisance. Also, the energy type doesn't matter a whole ton, just because melee wellmaker is neutral and these specific mods aren't anything to write home about. Cloak, I chose to run energy converter here using the void. A lot of these mods on your class item are used for finishers. I don't really care for them all that much, don't find that much use out of them generally speaking. So I figured void would best be suited here. I don't know that the seasonal mods are ever spec'd for a certain energy type, but regardless, I feel that the class item is the least important as far as energy spec goes, and so you can use it for your mods that are aligned with a certain affinity. As far as weapons go, you can really use anything with this, but personally I've been enjoying this GN7 rifle. It has swashbuckler and grave robber. Melee final blows reload this weapon's magazine from reserves. That's really nice. With this build, you barely ever have to reload the gun. And then additionally, whenever you're not throwing knives, you have swashbuckler at ×5, which is its max damage, and you're just wrecking shop. So here at the end, I wanted to do a little showcase, just kind of have y'all see what the build looks like in action. Main thing to look out for is just all the ability regens that are going on. I'm going to throw my grenade here in a second, get, a ton of super energy. So basically, just watch those cooldowns and enjoy the carnage. So if you're here, you made it to the end, hope you enjoyed that build, hope you get some good use out of it. I know I'm going to enjoy it for this super long season 15. Like, share, subscribe, do what you do. Appreciate you. It's Hooded Figure, fading out.